Hi, everyone. Thanks for clicking play. Today, I want to talk to you about leadership and more particular around the C12 leadership framework that I've built based on all my experience over the last 20 years, and also the C4 profiling part of that. So take a look and let me know what you think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you so I can talk you through exactly what it is my view of leadership is. So we've got my C12 leadership model, which on its own probably doesn't mean too much to you. So let's talk you through it. I believe performance is made of these 6 C's. In other words, if you have these 6 C's, you have all the ingredients there for performance to grow. So, clarity and connection. If everyone is clear on what it is they need to do, and they are connected to it in a way that makes them want to do it, there's also controls in place to measure and a commitment to hit those. And finally, if the capability exists to deliver on that, as well as the confidence to be able to use the skills to do so, performance can be achieved. Where this tends to go wrong is that we look at it only from a manage mindset. And when we do that, forefront is that we don't put that performance first, we put results first. So when we think of results and put results as the most important thing, we end up blending that and performance as meaning the same thing, and they're not the same thing. Ask yourself this question: can you perform without getting the result? Can you get the results without performing? And what we tend to then do is to try and get people to perform. We try and also then manage that and get them to do it more by bringing along values with us in our one-to-ones. So you can imagine this, or you can probably relate to this, that every 6 months and every end of year, we monitor the results based on the performance reviews of our one-to-ones and the values that the organization has set. But all of this has come from a place of management and wanting to get people to do what we want them to do. And this is why we don't really have great working environments on the whole. And it's also why leaders will say, I've got no time to do anything else. If you try and introduce a different way of working, let's say, for example, coaching into that way, it's going to fail because the too much time is being taken managing performance because the focus is results. So this is where the other 6 C's come in. We need to start placing an emphasis on engagement, which actually leads to inspire people to want to perform rather than having to be managed to do so. And this is where the other 6 C's are. So co-creation and collaboration. Actually build these things together with your people. Ask them. Don't spend 4 weeks in a room building something and then tell them what you're going to do. Ask their opinions on it. Ask their opinion on the challenges. Let them build it and own parts with you. What you'll then find is that people actually want to commit to those things a little bit more. But you need to follow that up with consistency. You can't just do this once. This needs to be the norm, involving them in both the building and the measuring of that. Communication is key here. And you can see just after this, we've got conversations, and the two things are very different. Communication needs, again, to be consistent and clear. Are we making sure that everyone understands what it is we're trying to say and put out there? Or are we just throwing as much out there as we can and then going to say, well, we told you? Communication isn't just about sending out information. It's about making sure it's landed and is understood. And the last part can be read 2 ways: coaching conversations or coaching and conversations. Coaching is a key way of doing this. And it doesn't have to mean that you're a coach. It could just mean that you are leading in a coaching style, really asking questions and listening and getting to know your people. And what better way to do that than looking for opportunities to have great conversations with them? The reason we understand the people in our private lives is we talk to them, we listen to them, we understand their challenges, we understand the opportunities, and we work with them. Time to start bringing that into the workplace. So, how do we do that? Well, this forms some of the things that we do see being talked about in business. So, behaviors we talk about quite a lot. Quite often, we talk about poor behaviors, but behaviors should be one of the first things we start to think about. What are the symptoms of success? In other words, what behaviors are we going to see if we're really nailing what we want to achieve in this business? Are we aligning all of this together? Both our people plans, our performance plans, HR, L&D, training modules, leadership development, all the different departments, all the different individuals, are they aligned in their thinking? Are they aligned in a way that's going to make them want to help each other achieve the big goal rather than just achieve their own goals at the expense of anyone else that steps in the way? And then look at your people's potential, not their training needs, their potential. How can you unlock their potential to deliver on the things that they want to deliver? And this is where you start bringing it together. Now, sometimes we try and do these things along the bottom, but with a managed mindset, it still doesn't work because we do things like engagement surveys. Brilliant. We're going to tell the people how we're going to do an engagement survey. We're going to tell them how we want them to fill it out. Then we're going to tell them what we're going to do with the results. And then we're going to tell them when the next one is. Well, again, we're telling. Another mindset's required here. And this is where we have lead and guide. So when we lead people with a vision, and this is the first part of it, it's quite crucial. What is your vision for your team? Not just the company vision. What's the vision for your team that you lead? Then you can start looking at those values and the behaviors that we've talked about. And this needs to come first. This shouldn't be an afterthought of this is what we want to do, these are the results, and this is how we want to behave while we do it. It's connected intrinsically to the vision of the company. What is it we're after? What's the moonshot? What are the values that we're going to place at the heart of being able to try and do that? And what are the behaviors that we will see every day that means those values are alive and kicking? And then at the other side of this, we've got guide. And if we look to guide people rather than telling them that they're confident and telling them that they're capable because they've been on a 3-day training course, for example, we start to build trust with them because we're understanding them more by having those conversations with them, by leading in that coaching style. And we start thinking about unlocking their capability and confidence in real environments in ways that they understand they need to build that confidence and capability that really does begin to unlock their potential and build that trust further. And when you do this, you can see I've changed the color of those two squares on either side. It's because you're no longer managing people to clarity and connection. You're no longer telling them that they're now clear because you've told them and you've sent the comms. You're not telling them to be connected to their goals because they're going to have a performance review. You're not telling them what to learn and how to learn by sending them on to courses and programs. They're actually coming to you. They're actually now saying, oh, wow, this is amazing. I've built it with you. I'm now part of it. And I want to measure myself. I want to help you build the ways I know that we're going to achieve this together. And by the way, I don't think I can be able to do this unless I learn these things. I'm going to need some support. And I'm not quite confident in that area. So, what can we do? How can you help me get that capability and that confidence so I can deliver this thing I'm so passionate about? Now, that sounds a lot better than I don't know why I'm being put on this training. And that, built all together, is that C12 leadership framework. Now, at the heart of this, we've got the 4 C's that we've been talking about. And the reason I picked these 4 out in particular is that So much literature is out there talking about command and control leadership is yesterday. And it's all now about creating clarity and connection with people that leads to that purpose and a great place to work. And this is a little bit, for me, like the argument around leadership versus management. Do we really want to be saying it's one or the other? Are we really safe in just talking about the virtues and advantages of leadership and declaring that management is a bad thing? Well, you can see from my framework that I've got both in there along with guide. So I don't necessarily believe this. If I bring those together, we can see that they are actually just different styles of leadership. And some people may predominantly sit in one of those areas. Now, what I want to be clear on here is unlike all the other 4-box grids that you tend to learn about, I'm not suggesting for a second here that you can only be one of these, or even suggesting for a second that you need to figure out which one you are so you can tell everyone else. That's not the point. The point is to really start being self-aware. Do you tend to command, issue orders, directives? Is that what you do predominantly all the time? Are you more of a clarity leader? The more charismatic leader that constantly talks and communicates and makes sure everyone understands the vision and where we're going to go and what we're going to achieve? Are you connected leader? You're there for the people all the time. You are understanding their challenges. You're trying to get the best out of them. You're their friend. Or you're that control leader, all over the stats, all over the numbers, the results, the targets, the bonuses, the number of sales that have gone on this week, how many we need to hit the target before the end of the month, the end of the quarter. Really pushing everyone to everyone knows exactly what they need to do over the next 12 hours. Or do you see yourself in all parts of those, in different times of the day, different times of the month, different contexts, different people? I think you probably do. Because when we start doing this, we start seeing the styles of leadership come into play. And it isn't about the control and command necessarily and the connection and clarity. If you tend to lead in that control command way, that's where manage comes into play. We tend to manage our people. If our focus tends to go towards control and connection, we're moving more towards that guiding principle, guiding our people towards where they need to be. If we focus on clarity and connection, or the more that we do, lead and leadership is more of the style that we're using at that moment. And those leaders that are really putting themselves in that commanding clarity space, they're the inspirational leaders, the hero leaders that we see on the stage talking and doing the massive speeches, really invigorating people, the people that could come on stage and talk about the most mundane thing, but make it sound amazing. And we're all behind them because of it. So start thinking for a second, where do you think you might be on there? When do you think you might change? In what circumstances might you be more one way than the other? And then begin to remove that from your mind. Because for me, whilst it's good and to a point necessary to understand from a starting point where it is and why you exist in that 4-box model, the target isn't about really strengthening that persona. And also, I don't think the target is about then making yourself and deliberately putting yourself into the other boxes. It can be quite tiring. As a leader, I found it quite tiring to think to myself, well, okay, I'm naturally over here and I want to manage over there. Oh my God, this is quite stressful being someone I'm not. It can be. And instead, as you can see on the screen, what I've done instead is said at the center of all this is a coaching style. Note, not a coach. You don't have to be a coach to lead in a coaching style. The more that you want to start listening to your people and connect to your people, the more that you want to ask questions with the intent of unlocking their performance and getting towards that great area of performance we talked about earlier on with the 6 C's in the middle, the more you're leading in a coaching style, the more trust builds and the more you start to understand what it is your people need from you on an individual and a group basis and beyond that at any one moment, in any context, in any point in time. Think of this a little bit like Johari window, that at the start, the box is quite small because it's a skill that you're not used to, maybe. Maybe the environment that you work in doesn't necessarily permit you to spend this time doing this. As you do it more and more, that box will grow until it becomes more natural for you to start saying, well, hang on a minute, no matter what the situation I'm confronted with at this moment, I'm going to, instead of thinking which of the 4 styles do I need to be in at this moment, and before I do that, which of the 4 methods or styles am I currently in, and really beginning to go down that anxiety route of wondering about what you are, take all that pressure away and step into that center point. I'm going to lead with the coaching style. I'm not going to make assumptions. I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask questions to understand, not to try and apportion blame, to understand. Ask questions, listen to the answers, understand your people and what they need. And again, the more and more you do this, the bigger and bigger that will grow until you get to a point where it's filling that area. And your natural place as a leader is to lead initially with that coaching style. But not only that, what you'll find is then you can remain in that coaching style and still really be pushing into those little areas of command and control, connection and clarity, whether you're looking at management or guiding or leading or inspiring, you're doing it in that coaching style, dependent on what your people need from you at that moment in time. And you start eliminating the extremes of management and leadership that we tend to talk too much about. The over commanding, the over controlling, the over connecting leader, the over clarity leader, the one with too much of the time spent on exuberantly talking about the vision and the message that they don't actually get the job done, maybe. Leading in that coaching style is key. And what I'm developing at the moment to help you do that is something called C4 profiling. To the people who sign up to my coaching packages, you will go through a C4 profiling assessment. Very quick. It'll take no more than 10 minutes. That gives you an indication, depending on 4 different contexts. So I'm talking about in work and at home, under pressure, but also what your vision of a great leader is. So this isn't just about what a natural style is, because I don't necessarily think that's something that you can pinpoint that easily. Where do you tend to be? How do you tend to lead based on a number of different circumstances? And from that, that isn't then you get a 20-page document that explains and solidifies what it is you are as a leader. That's the starting point of our coaching relationship. That is the starting point for us to have conversations ourselves and put coaching at the heart of the way you develop, that you can then translate into the way that you help your people develop. So you'll get that. You'll see exactly what your context-driven leadership looks like. And then we take it from there with our coaching relationship. Hope you've enjoyed that. Please let me know in the comments what you think of it. And also get in touch if you'd like to talk about me coaching you as a leader, both operationally or in L&D. I'd love to hear from you. Speak soon. Have a great day. Bye now.